Thanks for watching the Daily Debate tonight. I'm Taghreed Hussein, thanking you all for watching us, and we do have with us headlines, stories that made headlines throughout the whole week. The water issue is considered to be a file of life and death for the country. The Nile Basin countries agree on time frame in order to evaluate the Renaissance Dam. That is the headline that we are going to be discussing on the Daily Debate for tonight. The Water Resources and Irrigation Minister Mohammed Muttalib revealed the timeline agreed upon in the trilateral meeting of the water ministers of the Nile Basin countries for the completion of studies in order to evaluate the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. The water ministers also reached decisions regarding how to hire the international experts throughout each stage of the technical studies and determine the timing of each of the studies in regards to environmental, social, as well as the hydraulic water aspects. Those outstanding issues are to be resolved during the meeting, which is slated for January the 4th, 2014. Exactly what are those outstanding issues? What are the challenges ahead? How is Egypt addressing this important file meantime after June 30th revolution? All this on the Daily Debate for tonight. I have with me a distinguished panel for tonight, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, the Vice President of El-Wafd Party and water expert, and Dr. Haytham Mamdouh, the Professor of Water Resources, Alexandria University. We will be opening this file into full details, but we're back and discussing further this important file for Egypt, the file of life and death, the water file and water issues. Always honored to have with us Engineer Hassan Shabaan, Vice President of El-Wafd Party and water expert. Thank you very much,
Thank you for inviting
Engineer Shabaan, for coming, and Dr. Haytham Mamdouh, the Professor of Water Resources at Alexandria University. Dr. Mamdouh, thank you very much for being here. Well, starting off, Engineer Hassan, with the trilateral meeting of the water ministers, the outcome of the meeting, how far did it make a difference?
I think they made a progress, actually. This is the attitude this time was a little bit different from the past. I think the slogan that they raised this time is live and let live, and everybody recognized the fact that Ethiopia requires to develop, and we cannot really deny this fact. And I think the Ethiopians as well are trying to prove good intentions, and the Sudanese are playing a good role, positive role between the Egyptians and the Ethiopians, an active role. So I think we made a progress, but in my opinion, not good enough. We are looking for better results and faster results. Maybe after the committee will decide to assign an expert group to evaluate the issue, maybe we will reach better results.
Right. Dr. Haytham, progress has been made. Dr. Shabaan said that the attitude this time was quite positive, different from previous meetings. How can we build on this sense of positive attitude and try to build further trust measures between different parties attending?
I agree with Engineer Hassan about this point. The collaboration with our brothers in Ethiopia and Sudan should take our strategic point of view. In that sense, we should understand as Egyptians that this dam could have some benefit for Egypt also, in terms of water quantity and also in terms of energy. As an Egyptians, we have some concerns about the dam break or about the sedimentation or maybe about the water quality, but all those problems could be resolved by a friendship relation with Ethiopia and also with our friends or brothers in Sudan.
All right. Dr. Haytham, how can we allay fears? You spoke about certain issues that we need to address in order to feel secure.
Yes, the most important issue is the water quantity. We have a lot of fear about the water quantity. From an engineering point of view, there is some measures that shows that the water quantity will be reduced and another measure that it will be increased. So we should collaborate with Ethiopia in that sense. We have some concerns about how the period of filling that reservoir, what is the time, is 3 years or 5 years, and also in addition to that, the evaporation from that reservoir. And we have some points to be raised and discussed with Ethiopia concerning the dam break analysis, because it will have a big impact on both Sudan and Egypt.
Right.
Yes.
Engineer Shabaan, there has been differences concerning the issue of hiring experts and the technical committee that is going to be working. Did we reach like a sense of consensus on those issues? How were those addressed in the meeting?
I have certain ideas a little bit different from what everybody thinks. I don't know why from the beginning we did not invite both UK to attend, because you know the UK started the whole thing long time ago when it was the colonial power in the area. Maybe the Italians should have attended because we will refer to certain agreements that everybody is suffering from today, or everybody is claiming that these agreements were signed during the colonization time. I think, in my humble opinion, the U.S. Bureau of Land Reclamation and Water Resources in Nevada should have been as well invited, because, you know, this program, this ambitious program that Ethiopia has today started long time ago in the 1958 or 59 when Nasser decided to build the Aswan Dam with no consultation to Ethiopia, and he did not depend on Western finance to build the Aswan Dam. And the U.S. allowed the Nevada Bureau of Land Reclamation to perform this study for the Ethiopians as a punishment to Nasser, because he went out and went shopping for other finance for his Aswan Dam. So I think all the parties that shared the responsibility of creating the situation that we're facing today, because the border dam or the Renaissance Dam, it will not be the first nor the last dam in the ambitious Ethiopian program. It is one of a series of reservoirs. About 34 reservoirs or 32 reservoirs and dams will be built in the area. So we might as well look into the matter closely and get a lot of the parties that actually created the issue with us on the negotiation table. Maybe this will ease the tension. Maybe this will allow us to find alternatives, which I think, yes, the alternatives are there, and maybe Dr. Haytham will share with me that there is alternatives for the existing situation.
Right, alternatives for the existing situation, Dr. Haytham. Well, Engineer Hassan said that it is really an ambitious, and it is an ambitious Ethiopian project. It is not going to be the last dam. How are we going to deal with this situation, and how can we change it into a win-win situation and work in a sense of partnership?
From my opinion, the main concern of Egypt is the usage of that dam. If it will be used for irrigation, we will have a negative impact in Egypt. But if it will be used only for energy production, I think that the quantity of water will increase, in which would arrive in Egypt. Simply saying that this dam will prevent all of the flooding coming into the Sudanese area. In that case, if you remember, this year, Sudan suffered from a severe flood this year,
flood, yes.
Right.
A high flood. So all this quantity of water will be stored in the upstream side of the dam, in which better regulation for the river, in which we could say that this is one of the main reasons that the water coming to Aswan could increase in that sense.
Right. Dr. Haytham raised, Engineer Shabaan, a very important issue, which is better regulation of the water river.
I would like to add to what Dr. Haytham said. You know, Sudan suffered from sedimentation. All the open channels and the river course suffered from sedimentation. Sudan quite a bit of money every year to clear and dredge the sediment that deposits in the river course. Creating the dam upstream the border or the Renaissance Dam will save Sudan a lot of money in clearing their channels from sediment that normally deposits. This is number one. Number two, Sudan would get cheap energy from this dam, cheap electricity, and which will solve the development programs in Sudan and South Sudan and in the Upper Sudan. So really, our main fear is the shortage of water. But again, with some understanding from the Ethiopians, we could modify the design of the dam where maybe the rainfall rate over the Ethiopian plateau will increase because this is expected. Then this will fill the lake behind upstream the dam faster. Then the Ethiopians will have to relieve the pressure behind the dam in a spillway. Okay, so we need to look into this. What if? I'm not discussing the earthquake possibilities and the threats that could be caused due to that, but I'm talking about the amount of water stored upstream the dam. We need to really look into this, and we need to have an agreement from Ethiopia. If we suffer from a shortage below 55 billion cubic meters, the spillway should be used in the border dam to relieve or to release some of the stored water to make up for the loss that we suffered from, unless they get a lot of water from the rainfall, and this will be a blessing to everybody.
Right. Hopefully we're asking for a blessing for everybody, and the fear of shortage of water, yes, is still there. Are we, before putting it on the table, modifying the design of the dam itself? How far is Ethiopia going to be cooperative with Egypt in that respect? After this report, we're going to discuss this file in full details. Egypt has been questioning the safety of a plan to divert the Nile River for procedures associated with building the dam itself. Let's see the report on the dam, and we'll be back.
Water Resources and Irrigation Minister Mohammed Muttalib revealed at a timeline agreed upon in the trilateral meeting of the water resources of the Nile Basin countries for the completion of the studies to evaluate the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. A system has been agreed upon in the event of an agreement between the three countries, Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia. The water ministers also reached decisions regarding how to hire international experts throughout each step technical studies and determine the timing of each of the studies in regard to environmental, social, hydraulic water aspects. The outstanding issues are scheduled to be resolved during the meeting planned for the January 4th, 2014. On his part, Sudan's minister said that water ministers from Egypt, Ethiopia and Sudan successfully held talks on an Ethiopian dam project after Egypt's objections delayed formation of a committee to implement expert advice. In a brief statement to reporters after the talks, which lasted several hours, Sudanese ministers have addressed a significant part of the issues on the follow-up of the implementation of the recommendations of the International Panel of Experts. Asked whether they meant the difference over the committee had been resolved, Ethiopian ministers said that it is almost done. Sudanese Minister Salim said that the remaining issue addressed in Khartoum during talks from January 4th and 5th. At a meeting in Khartoum last month, ministers from the three nations failed to agree on the composition of the committee, which would follow through on expert recommendation about the Grand Renaissance project. The experts' report had not been made public, but Ethiopia has said it confirms that the impact on water levels is minimal. Cairo had sought more studies about the dam's effect on its water supply, which is almost entirely dependent on the Nile. Sudanese Foreign Minister Ali Kerti said earlier that Egypt wanted international representatives on the committee, but Ethiopia preferred national delegates.
We're back, and always a pleasure to have with us Engineer Hassan Shabaan and Dr. Haytham Mamdouh, and we are opening the water file. Dr. Mamdouh talking further about energy challenges for Egypt that we do have. How can we make use of the Ethiopian expertise and their contribution in that file?
This is exactly a very good example about win-win situation, because in Egypt we suffer from electricity shortage during summer, and especially during some time of the day, in the afternoon, from 5 to 10 p.m., something like that. This is because in Egypt we have all our power plant, we have 39 thermal power plant and another 5 hydroelectric power plant. We need this hydroelectric power generated from that dam during our peak load, in which we will return back to Ethiopia from our thermal plants, electrical plant, during the off-peak load. This will provide both countries with very good example for how we could collaborate in that energy management between those two countries.
Right.
Yes.
And
so,
the term energy management is very important.
Yes.
Yeah. And we need energy management in the full sense of the word, and to combat further challenges ahead. So I think that it can help in a sense of a win-win situation.
yes, because
Would the Ethiopian side be quite cooperative regarding this fight?
yes, because they have installed about 6,000 megawatt of installed capacity, while the available power is not exceeding 1,800, in which the efficiency of the dam will be about 30%. In that case, for example, Sudan bought, I think, 30% of the electricity of that dam. We could contribute or share some percentage of this amount in order to solve our shortage of electricity, especially during summer and during some time of the day, during the peak load in Egypt here. So this will be a very good example, especially that each kilowatt hour in Egypt here cost about 2 Egyptian pounds. But here in Ethiopia, the cost of electricity will be much lower than this amount, I think.
Right. Engineer Shabaan, talking about priorities for establishment of dams concerning the Ethiopian side, and do you think it should have been different, setting priorities in a different way regarding dam establishment?
To be honest with you, I think Ethiopia is a very rich country when it comes to a rate of yearly rainfall. And it was fair to Ethiopia to really have a program. But if you know that that 50% of the rainfall, the Ethiopian plateau, goes directly, seeps to the Gulf of Aden, toward Ogaden and Djibouti and the Gulf of Eritrea. And in my opinion, Ethiopia could have started with a series of dams and reservoirs to preserve some of this water that seeps to the Gulf of Aden. This will give Ethiopia a lot of water that will allow Ethiopia to have agricultural products, or if a country like Egypt suffers due to the filling of the lake upstream the border dam, they could have used this water to make up for the lost water that we will suffer from. This will be like a reserve amount. But as a doctor, Haytham said, I'm really hoping that everybody in the African continent, from the north till the south, will wise up and have a conference for development, for power and power management. Because actually, in Africa, we enjoy a very good privilege. You see, half of Africa will have winter, while the other half of Africa will have summer.
Right.
So the consumption of electricity in summer it will be higher in these areas and will be less in the other. And it's vice versa after 6 months. So we need to wise up. We need to connect the grids, the electrical grids together from South Africa all the way to the Mediterranean. I love to see this fantastic dam on the River Congo, the Super Inga Dam, that could produce 100 times electricity as big as the Aswan Dam. All of this electricity could provide Africa with the required power. Only one dam could provide Africa with the necessary power. Or for the coming 15 years, this could be exported to Europe to make up for the European loss in electricity if they ban the use of nuclear plants.
Right.
I would invite our brothers in the Arabian Gulf to invest with us in Africa in this respect. I really think this is a great chance for our friends to invest in very fruitful projects that will change the face of Africa, really. So
changing the face of Africa in a sense of partnership and cooperation. How can this, Dr. Haytham, be reflected on the water file? How can this be translated on solid grounds in a way that is going to benefit African countries and their water necessities?
Regarding the Nile Basin countries, yes, as Engineer Hassan had mentioned, that there is a lot of projects, a lot of idea. For example, this energy...
Connecting the grids.
This was an idea of late engineer Maher Abbas,
a long time ago.
One time ago. But it has not come to the reality. We hope that in the near future we could see like these ideas. Also,
what sort of challenges that hamper such projects to come to the
financial problems? I think mainly it is a financial problem. An important issue about Ethiopia, the economy of Ethiopia is one of the lowest 10 economy in all the world. Yeah. So we face also in Egypt these financial problems. We need also to solve this. We have also about the water quantity in Egypt. Our yearly water duty is about 55.5 billion meter cube, while our consumption exceed about 80 billion. We have also a very big water shortage in Egypt. We need to increase this amount coming to Egypt. A lot of idea has been, for example, using the ideas of water in upper basin, and also using groundwater and desalination of water.
Yes.
So
those kinds of projects definitely are considered to be necessary. The water file, Engineer Shabaan, ideas for increasing the share for water for Egypt and the amount of water that we receive, plus definitely what you've shared with us, kindly shared concerning connecting the grids. Will a project like the one concerning Congo
actually, there was a number of projects, and surprising
none of
problems, I think, were meant to put a block in front of these projects. Like in the south of Sudan, there was 3 major projects: a Gongli phase 1 and Gongli phase 2, and the Mushar reservoir. Actually, I think when I visited south of Sudan, I actually asked them very simple question: what is the obstacles that prevents Gongli from? We've been hearing about Gongli for ages.
It has been already 75% of this project.
Ages. You know, the reason that was given to me, and I couldn't really argue, because, you know, actually they have an annual migration for an animal, a wild buffalo called the gnu. It migrates from the way or the direction that crosses with the Gongli channel. And they said, for this reason, we cannot go through with the Gongli because we need to assure this annual migration to the gnu. And the hell with the Egyptians. I mean, they suffer from thirst. They don't cultivate their land. I mean, this water will go for nothing and evaporate. We need to really consider solutions. We need to control the Nile Basin with a satellite. It's about time. Satellites are very useful. We can find the right passes for this animal, and we could make engineering solutions, crossings for this animal to cross, and this will secure the Gongli 1 and Gongli 2. And we need the water. We need to take things seriously and professionally. It's no time is allowed
to waste
anymore, really. It's enough is enough.
No chances to waste.
No, yes.
Right. The issue of satellites, Dr. Haytham, how will that help?
In a lot of issues, for example, now in remote sensing technology, we could estimate the evaporation, and we could estimate the precipitation, and we could estimate also the land use, and to select what is the promising area to make the cultivation or irrigation. So even so, in Alexandria now we are using remote sensing just to evaluate this storm during those days. We observe the precipitation coming to Alexandria during these days.
Right.
So a lot of challenge using remote sensing technologies in engineering in that area.
Right. Back to you, Engineer Shabaan, Egypt has always stressed on its historic rights to the waters of the Nile. International law requires governments to adhere to treaties signed, but how about the recognition of those treaties? Some say that they were signed in the era of colonialism.
This is what I said in the beginning.
Yes.
I think.
And back to this point, because it is really important, we need to.
You see, our ancestors and since Muhammad Ali, maybe even the pharaohs, they realized the importance of securing the River Nile sources, the Great Lakes in the heart of Africa. And they actually explored the area, and they secured this area. Even Khedive Ismail bought from the UK what's so-called the Nile documents, and it's somewhere which preserves the Egyptian rights in the Nile water. I think there is a lot of history and a lot of documentation. And if we actually bring all these documents in the right manner in front of a neutral, approved by both sides, we will reach a happy ending. And I think we need to raise the slogan of development for peace in the area. We need actually to change our attitude. I think we made a lot of mistakes by being very snob in the past. We wasted a lot of time not talking to others. I don't know, we did not gain much from this snobism. We need to get down to earth and try to find solutions and
secure our needs.
Right. I think it's a very serious situation if we keep on fooling around like this and wasting. It doesn't make sense.
The slogan and the attitude, the positive attitude this time, Dr. Haytham, was live and let live. How is this going to be translated? How will it have a positive impact on the water file?
We have not a good history in that, because you remember the on-air meeting with our former president. So I think that the current government should do a lot of effort to again building the trust between us and the yes. So I think that during next meeting in January, we hope that we could collaborate also and issue a new all the conflict between us and between Ethiopia could be solved, and secure that project for providing us with some benefit from that project and contribution with Egypt, with Ethiopia, and also in Sudan.
Right. From the eyes of a professor of water resources, and the next meeting, which is slated for January the 4th, 2014, what sort of priorities for the headlines that you think should be raised at January meeting?
The first issue is the time of filling that reservoir, the size or capacity of that reservoir, and also Ethiopia didn't make any study about the dam break analysis on both Ethiopia and Egypt, and also about very important issue, the energy, how we could collaborate with Ethiopia in the energy sector in that issue. In addition to that, we have also the sedimentation problem from that reservoir, and also another issue that Sudan knows very well that it will use or buy cheap energy from Ethiopia, but it will face a big problem about that it will need a lot of fertilizers to prevent this problem in their agricultural land.
Right,
so
right. Engineer Shabaan, diplomacy had played a role in the water file, right?
Definitely.
How do you see that role?
I don't really like the results that so far we achieved, actually. I think because engineering or technical assistance and diplomacy, there was a gap, actually. I think, maybe because I practice politics and I'm a civil engineer, I sing the tune that should be sung during the negotiations, actually. I think we need to play a lot of politics, leverage, technicalities, persuasion. It's a smart cocktail of issues that somebody should try to mix it. And you know, it will eventually result positive results.
Right. What sort of smart cocktails do we need, Professor Haytham, on the table for next meeting?
Just in addition to that, I have forgot also very important. We have a historical right in Nile River. It should be
Recognized.
Recognized, yes.
Right.
Till now, Ethiopia didn't recognize these historical rights in 1959, and so this is very important point. Another issue is that it should not start constructing any dam without the agreement or some sort of agreement between Egypt or the downstream countries, Egypt and Sudan. So those are two main points that also should be agreed between us and Ethiopia and also Sudan.
How about if there was a sense of persistence from the other side, from the Ethiopian side?
This is why I said in the beginning that inviting the parties that helped in creating the issue or the problem, like the UK with their expertise, they are very knowledgeable when it comes to the river Nile basin. They're very influential. The US is influential. Again, even the US requires to prove good intention to the Egyptian people. You know, we've been hearing a lot of plots that being made against the Egyptians. Okay, we might as well see some efforts from the US administration to prove that they are protecting the Egyptian interests and the Egyptian people by helping getting people together and reaching a compromise on the River Nile. I think the superpowers should play a role to compromise between Egypt and Ethiopia and develop the whole area. Maybe the Arabs, our friends in the Arab Gulf, could provide the finance, because as Dr. Haytham said, it's a matter of finance. If they finance these ambitious programs, the face of Africa will change. Africa will no longer be the dark continent anymore. It will be enlightened.
Well, hopefully the water file remains a file of life and death for the country. And on top of our priorities, I thank you very much, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, the Vice President of El-Wafd Party, for coming. And I thank Dr. Haytham Mamdouh, the Professor of Water Resources at Alexandria University. Thank you very much, Professor Haytham, for being with us on the Daily Debate for tonight. Thank you so much for coming from Alexandria, especially for the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This bad weather, yes.
God bless. God bless. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ajay.
And thank you, dear viewers, for joining